Yo, what's good, GGB fam? I'm here with the Global Gym Battle Season 2, Week 7 weekly recap. First week of the new Sa'ivi Grove legal. So let's just go to the report. They haven't done a meta breakdown because obviously, mixed with old meta and new meta, so we don't really have a breakdown just yet, but let's just get into the report. And starting with Daybreak versus Team A, which went down to the wire. It went all the way to the last game, and Jewel closed it out with Buzzle Faramosa 10-9. And strong win for Daybreak, obviously, very strong, very good win for Daybreak. And, new old set, no new cards, so not really that interested in the old meta, obviously, since it was kind of, it was solved, so there wasn't really anything interesting. It was just like all the lineups and stuff are always pretty similar, see Soga streak, Sovali, Rampardo streak, Charizard streak, the good old stuff. But let's go next to Third Eye versus Fujiyama, which this was a new set battle, and basically Team Fuji's meta call was Incineroar, and Third Eye's meta call was the Sylveon Greninja deck. And yeah, Sylveon Greninja just kinda streaked versus Fuji, and yeah, I don't really think that Fuji were really prepared for Sylveon Greninja. And yeah, I think this was the first game that was played in the new meta. I'm pretty sure. I think Third Eye Fuji was the first game on the new meta. So we got that, Kinja, he really believed in Incineroar, and it didn't really work out for them, but that was their early meta call was Incineroar, and Third Eye's early meta call was a Sylveon Greninja deck. Alright, let's go next. We got Squad Zero versus Smogon Deck Lab. And Smogon's call was Charizard Sylveon, which didn't work out the best for them. And Squad Zero's early call was Solgaleo Sylveon, which obviously is instead of the mushroom, you play Sylveon. So, and obviously you have a bad Oricorio matchup, but you already had a bad Oricorio matchup, so they just played Sylveon because you already have a bad Oricorio matchup. Why just not? It doesn't really matter if you play Ori, you just play your second pair, right? But yeah, I mean, the Sylveon did kind of work out for them. It did get a few wins on the board, and in the end, they ended it with Flareon Turtonator to beat Solgaleo Shiinotic to win 10-9. A pretty good win for Squad Zero, because going into week 7, they were kind of on the I think 2-game lose streak, so they really wanted a win, and they were able to get a win in the first game of the new meta. So, and next up we got Mia Stars Princess versus Double Critical, and it was another old meta. No, actually it was a new meta. Actually, I just saw the Sylveon Greninja, never mind. But I don't know, I was looking at just Double Critical's lineup, and it looks like it was mostly old deck. And same with Mia Stars Princess. Obviously they had Charizard Sylveon, and they had Sylveon Greninja, but otherwise it was old meta decks. But yeah, Greninja Oricorio streak to close out the war 10-5. So yeah, a huge win for Double Critical. And as of week 7, Double Critical, this is 5 wins in a row for Double Critical. They started 0-2. It was also same for Third Eye. Third Eye is also on a 5-game win streak, but Double Critical and Third Eye are both 5-0 right now. They went on from 0-2 to 5-0 streaks. But yeah, it was a mix of old set and new set decks, and Double Critical won 10-5. And next we got Solar Beam Syndicate versus Sun Clan, which is another new set, and we see Flareon Leafeon starting, and it got a win. It started off well, and then Charizard Sylveon kind of streak. They bring Greninja Oricorio for the Charizard, and yeah, Sun Clan did win 7-10. And yeah, for Solar Beam Syndicate is more on Charizard Sylveon, while Sun Clan believed in Sylveon Greninja as their early meta call. Sylvally Rampardo still streaking is pretty funny. I mean, the deck is always gonna streak even. I mean, it doesn't get worse or anything, right? Still does what it does, but yeah. And Greninja Recoil is also pretty good versus Charizard and stuff like that. But yeah, Sunclan, a pretty strong win for Sunclan because I do believe they're like 3-3. And yeah, so yeah, there isn't really much. Let's just move on. Next up, we got Hispanic Dynasty versus Power of Chaos. And this is Power of Chaos second win in a row. And yeah, obviously Sylveon Greninja, which was an early like meta call to be like the best deck in the format. It streaked for them and it did very well, and it gave Power of Chaos the win. But the thing I wanted to say about this game is that if you're in the GGB Discord, there's every week the Discord does predictions, right? And you can vote on who you think is gonna win. And Power of Chaos was like the underdog by a lot, obviously, because Hispanic Dynasty had like better record and stuff. So like the people voted the Power of Chaos was like the underdog by a lot, and they managed to clutch up a win in the new format with a 10-3 win, which is very good for their round difference, obviously, right? Yeah, let's go next. We got my champions versus Froggy X Red, which was another, I think it went 9-10, I think. Yep. And Froggy X Red did win 10-9. And yeah, we still see obviously Buzzle sell Steela because it was early on. Maybe the people didn't have all the decks, and obviously the meta wasn't solved. So Buzzle was still a good call for this week, and so was Guzzlord. And yeah, we see Sylveon Greninja do pretty well, which if there was a meta breakdown, I think that Sylveon Greninja would really be up there in win percentage. It's done really well. Charged Silvally, still good. Yeah, we got Sylveon Greninja losing to Silvally's Aurora for the last game. And yeah, Sylveon Greninja kind of had a good streak. Yeah, and they obviously repeated Buzzle versus Guzzlord, But yeah, obviously a close game. We see a mix of olds and new meta decks doing well, which is cool. Let's just go next. We got level 6 Project versus Terbaguette, which this was old meta, so let's see the record first of all. Like, okay, 10-7, and we saw Magnezone Shiinotic streak. That's pretty. It beat Rampardos and stuff. That's pretty funny. Shout out ZU, I guess. But yeah, 10-7 in the old meta, teams that didn't have cards played old meta, right? But yeah, just old meta, Buzzwole streaking early on, and then Buzzwole reverse streaking, the good old stuff, and then yeah, just old meta, not really interesting. And we got SVK team, another old meta, but good job for FNA. I don't know how to say your name, sorry. Well, he streaked with Silvally Rampardos, that is what the deck does, he went on a good run, which yeah. But in the old meta, so and they did believe in this Silvally Palkia deck. But yeah, they won 10-4. It was just really Silvally Rampardo sweep, not really interesting. Next up, we got Phoenix versus Team ? And this was new meta, and it went to 10-9. Silvally, Oricorio, and Shiinotic Solgaleo tying is pretty funny. We got Sylveon Greninja starting off with 2 wins versus Dragonite Sylveon. Yeah, Dragonite is cope. Well, obviously when it's new meta, okay, Silvally Rampardo still streaking, I guess. And then Sylveon Greninja doing well for both teams, and Guzzlord beating a Buzzwole to end it off, which is good. And then we go Galactic versus Hyper Offense, which this was like this was a game that like the loser of this game was most likely just out of playoffs. Hyper Offense might obviously they might already be like, I don't know how the mat works. Hyper Offense might still maybe be able to clinch playoffs if they like win all the rest of the games. If they win week 8, 9, and 10, maybe they would have to like win with a lot of round difference as well. But yeah, Hyper Offense did win 10-7 versus Galactic, and Galactic are most likely eliminated from playoffs. And we see Maya go on a good run with Greninja Oricorio and Giratina Darkrai, beating Leafeon Flareon and beating Solgaleo Shiinotic. And then we saw like Guzzlord streak at the end there with 3 wins, and Incineroar early on getting 4 wins, which was Incineroar is like an early meta call because obviously the new supporter how makes it do like a lot of damage, like 170. So it was an early meta call, right? Incineroar would be kind of decent, like solo Incineroar with like Rocky Helmet, How and stuff. And obviously you're good like versus like solo Incineroar does work versus like Oricorio because the burn and Rocky Helmet. But yeah, so yeah, good job for Hyper Offense. Galactic unfortunately have had a rocky season, but yeah. Let's just go next to, we got Froggy X Blue versus Pocket Chef. We had obviously new meta, Giratina, Oricorio, Gren. I remember this. This was streamed. Obviously, I have kind of been forgetting about this. The games that have been streamed, but this Froggy X Blue game was streamed, and then we got Giratina, Oricorio, Gren. And like I remember at the start, like obviously I was in the VC in our team chat, and I was like, the Giratina, Oricorio, Gren and Silvally Greninja always like it looked identical. It looked genuinely like identical deck. Like if you didn't have their deck list, you would think it was like almost the same deck. But and then Giratina, Darkrai, Sylveon, Greninja, which showed to be a good pair, and like it was an okay pair at the start of this meta. Like Third Eye did well with the same pair, so Toby started off well, and then the frogs were fighting back. Obviously, it was pretty close, and then Dai came in with Guzzlord, and he won 4 in a row to give us 6-10. So yeah, we saw Silvally, Rampardos, Flareon, Leafeon. Oh yeah, I guess Flareon, Leafeon lost to Shiinotic twice not because that's not a good matchup for you, but first game Sush timed out, and then second game he was kind of tilted, and he used a EV bag. Like he was supposed to heal with the EV bag, but he used it before he could heal. Basically, he used it before he used the Flareon effect. So he lost. I think he was just like tilted because game 1 he timed out and didn't attack. So I think that just like tilted him. So he just played on tilt, and yeah, we lost 2 in a row to Solgalli. And then MTG DBZ came back with Oricorio Magnezone to win 2. A break with Dark Giratina, and then Dai swept with Guzzlord. He beat Silvally and Pardos, he beat Darktina, and he beat Flareon and Leafeon. And then we got ITP versus Splash Gaming, and I mean this was an old meta. Actually no, I see Giratina Sylveon, so it was a new meta. It just like mixed. I think maybe people didn't have cards, I guess. So because I see the Giratina Sylveon, and then it's like I see all like old meta deck like Stoutland, Galate, and Silvally, Rampardos and stuff. And yeah, the ITP are playing their 5 Charizards again, I guess, or 4 Charizards actually. Well, a lot of Charizards, at least 3 Charizards Silvally. I see 1, I see 2, and 3 this time, not 5. Like versus Phoenix, only 3. Then Silvally, Rampardos, and Buzzle Celesteela, which obviously could still been like a good call. Like obviously Buzzle was still like a pretty good call, like super early on in the meta, but it might not be as used. How the meta has evolved, week 8, Buzzle Celesteela might not show up as much as it showed up this week. And week 8 we should have more new decks. But yeah, that is it for the reports, and I wanna look at standings. So yeah, here's the standings. The top 3 is Pocket Chefs, Third Eye, and LSP. What I want to talk about the standings is I did say as of this week, as of week 7, I want to look at like playoff picture per se. Like I'm gonna like what if the playoff started, how the matchups would look. Obviously Pocket Chefs and Third Eye and LSP, they have the bye, so round 1 they would have 1 week off, and round 1 would be Magma versus ITP, Hispanic Dynasty versus Double Critical, Solar Beam Syndicate, Solar Beam Syndicate versus Splash Gaming, Powerful Chaos versus Sunclan, and Froggy X Red versus Smogon Deck Lab. And that would be your round 1 matchups. That would be like the round 1 matchups if the playoffs end today. But obviously how the standings are always changing and stuff. So week 8 with maybe a different playoff picture, and then week 9 it will also be different, and then week 10 obviously before the playoffs will go a bit more in depth about the playoffs. And yeah, that is it for the standings. I did want to kind of look at how the matchups would look for playoffs and how they will change as we as we're like near the end of the main season of GGB. So yeah, and then the weekly schedule. I almost forgot. I did want to look at the weekly schedule. Always, as I'm recording this, we had like a super early game. We had a game Thursday, which was MSP versus ITP. I streamed that game, so if obviously I'm not spoiling it because I wanna go over it in next week, right? But in the next recap I do. But there's a stream. Obviously, there's no VOD because numbers. Someone's dad called. Thunder's dad called him, so his number got leaked. So I didn't publish the VOD. So there isn't actually a VOD, but there's a report and stuff. So yeah, so that's it for that game. But let's look at like games that might be like a highlight. Obviously, Splash Gaming versus Phoenix. The in-division games are always nice. We got my champions SBS, Libyan Syndicate. LSP versus Froggy X Red, Sunclan versus Team A. I think Squad 0 and HD is actually my match that I want to see the most. Is like my highlight game. Fuji Froggy X Blue is also important. Obviously, if Froggy X really need to win, so obviously that is a must-win game for Froggy X Blue, and Fuji want to bounce back from their week 7. And the Magma Power of Chaos could be interesting because I think both Magma and both Power of Chaos are on 2-game win streaks. But that's it for the standings, and that's it for this week. Obviously, they haven't posted they haven't posted Player of the Week. They haven't posted the meta breakdown, as I said, because it's mixed between old and new, so there isn't really So week 8 will most likely have the breakdown instead for EV Grove. But yeah, that's all for me, and I'll see you guys next week for week 8.